ओम अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम परमगुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम सर्वगुरुभ्यो नमः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलं स्फटिकाकृतिम् आधार सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवम् उपास्महे। Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us on the fourth session on the flavors of Vaishnavism. Today, we are going to see another school of thought called Dvaitam. Is very special and very unique, as you're going to see how it is very special and very unique. But before we get into the actual, before I start sharing the slides, I want to say that in this course, we have been seeing and we will be seeing a lot of different schools of thoughts. As we are going through every school of thought, one school of thought will criticize or defeat the other school of thought. And that is quite natural. That is how it is. For one to establish their point, their philosophy, their principles, they have to take the other philosophy and tell the faults and problems which are there in the other philosophy, so they can establish their philosophy, which is as the topmost philosophy. And when they do this one, we have to note something very important. That is, they do not attack the person, they only attack the philosophy that is brought by that particular person. Unlike in current days, where when there is a problem between two parties, they attack the parties. They don't attack the issue, they attack the party. In those days, it was not like that, especially with the learned scholars like this that we are seeing now, the great Acharya. They don't go and attack others as a person. Rather, they attack and try to defeat the philosophy. That's what they try to do. With that, please keep that in mind as we are going to see um, today's beautiful another session on Dvaitam. Dvaitam means dualism, and the founder Acharya of this particular sampradaya is Swami Madhvacharya, Sripad Madhvacharya. And there are two beautiful, many slokas are there in Madhvacharya, but then I just picked two, which glorifies, it talks about how glorious he is. So before we start, we have to pray to Madhvacharya to give us the blessings so we can dive into his school of thought and try to get some pearls out of it for us to apply in our practice in Krishna consciousness. Prathamo Hanuman Nama Dvitiyo Bhima Evacha Purna Prajna Truteyashtu Bhavat Karya Sadakaha. This sloka says the great Devata called Vayu, he took a very first avatar in Treta Yuga as Hanuman. And he took this avatar to serve Lord Ramachandra. And Vayu took a second avatar in Dwapara Yuga as Bhimasena, to assist and serve Krishna. And that same Vayu in Kali Yuga took a third avatar, and that is Madhvacharya. He appeared as Madhvacharya, and this time to serve Vedavyasa, who is none other than the Lord himself, is incarnation of the Lord. The purpose of all three incarnation of Vayu is to serve the Lord. In this first two incarnation, as Hanuman and Bhima, he was helping the Lord, he was serving the Lord with his strength. Whereas in the third avatar, he was serving the Lord with his knowledge, with his spiritual knowledge. That is the first sloka that we saw. Pratamo Hanuman Nama Dvitiyo Bhima Evacha Purna Prajna Tuteshyastu Bhavat Karya Sadaka. And the next sloka, Brahmanta Guravaha Sakshat Ishtam Daivam Sriya Patihi Acharya Srimadacharya Shantume Janma Janmani. Here also it says the same thing, that Vayu took a third avatar as Madhvacharya, who was a guru, very boldly, very clearly proved the supremacy of Lord Vishnu, where no one else have done like that. So this is a glorification of Madhvacharya. So let's again pray to Madhvacharya as we are entering into his kingdom of this beautiful, wonderful garden called Dvaitam. Dvaitam. In our country, there are many, many philosophers were there, many philosophers prior to Madhvacharya. But Madhvacharya was very, very unique compared to all the acharyas, because his philosophy is very distinct and separate from all other philosophers. The saints who appeared before Madhvacharya, namely Adi Shankara, Bhaskara, Ramanuja, Nimbarka, they all appeared before Madhvacharya. They saw the Prapanjam. Prapanjam is this creation, this world, this whole creation, this world, to be having some connection with the Lord. Somehow or the other, they saw some connection with the Lord. They expressed their theology in different ways, but they always saw some connection, that the world has some connection with the Lord. Even those disagreed the oneness, even those who disagreed the oneness program, that is everything is one, they did not deny fully the oneness. That's the beauty of it. They did not deny the oneness fully. Okay, they said it could be one or it could be two. It could be this or that. Some way or the other, they were connecting to that oneness. They saw some relationship with the Lord and with the world. But each of them explained that in a different form. But it is only Madhvacharya who completely varied from any other philosophies and teachings from other acharyas. His Siddhanta is called Dvaita Siddhanta. This is classified under the Veda Shruti. Veda Shruti. Let me move to the next one. Veda Shruti. This slide is not a new slide for most of you who's been regularly attending. We saw this earlier also. So the Vedas are of three types of Shrutis: Abheda Shruti, Veda Shruti, and Ghataka Shruti. And Veda Shruti is one which talks about the distinct difference between the substances, that is God and the Jivatma. That is Veda Shruti. Whereas those Shruti which talks about they're all one is called Abheda Shruti. So these are the two main things we have seen in the past. The Veda Shruti speaks about the differences between the creation and the Ishvara. When we say creation, it includes the world and all the living entities. Therefore, Madhvacharya has seen the Vedas, from the Upanishad, 5 main differences. There are 5 main differences he saw, which he says that Nirantara, it is existing eternally. These 5 differences exist eternally. What are the differences? And this is what going to be our presentation on the philosophy when we go to the philosophy. But this is just an introduction. The 5 differences are the difference between Brahman. Brahman means that absolute truth. The difference between Brahman and Jivatma. That's number 1. Number 2 is the difference between the Jivatmas. Within the Jivatma, all the Jivatmas are not same. They are all different. In one way or the other, they are all different. That is the second difference. The third difference is the differences within the creation, within the Prakriti, this world. There are so many different types of objects that we see. Therefore, within the creation, there are differences. Prakriti. That's number 3. Number 4, there's a difference between the Prakriti and Jivatma. The matter and spirit, there are differences. And lastly, the 5th one, there's a difference between the Prakriti and Paramatma, Bhagavan, God. So these are the 5 things makes it the philosophy a Dvaita philosophy. Difference between Brahman and Jivatma, difference within the Jivatma, difference within the Prakriti, difference between the Prakriti and Jivatma, difference between the Prakriti and Paramatma. According to Madhva, he concludes his teaching that no other philosophy or Siddhanta to be accepted except is Dvaita philosophy, because the differences are so very obvious that we can see the difference between these 3 things. What are the 3 things? Ishvara, Prakriti, and Jivatma. Ishvara, Jivatma, and Prakriti. Between these 3 things, we see 5 different categories of differences. That's what he says. Therefore, we also can see when we walk around, we see so many different objects in front of me. I see the screen, I see people are hearing, I see the light, I see the fan, I see the cell phone, and all. I see my family members, and so many differences are there. Madhva is so therefore very special. No other acharya in the history of Sanatana Dharma has so very clearly pointed out the differences between the 3 substances, Ishvara, Jivatma, and Prakriti. Even those acharyas who came after Madhvacharya, we spoke about Advaita Acharya, we spoke about Shankara, we spoke about Bhaskara, we spoke about Ramanujacharya, Nimbarka. They all appeared before Madhvacharya. What about those Acharya appeared after Madhvacharya? Even they did not give such a great differences at what Madhvacharya has given on these 3 items, 3 substances. So he did a great job on how to differentiate between these 3 main tattvas, Ishvara tattva, Jiva tattva, and Prakriti, Achit tattva. Therefore, another important point in the Dvaita philosophy, as we can go into the next slide. Before that, these are some of the Shruti Vakya, where you can see each one of them picked certain Shruti from the same Upanishad and established their philosophy. Now let's move on to the next slide. Now Shankara, as we know already, we have seen the slide. I'm making it a constant slide, so it gets into it soaks into us that the Vedas have 2 parts, Purva Kanda, Uttara Kanda, and Jaimini Rishi has written commentary on the Purva Kanda called Karma Mimamsa, and Veda Vyasa has written commentary on Uttara Kanda called Uttara Mimamsa or Brahma Mimamsa or Jnana Mimamsa, Jnana Kanda, right? Now, every Acharya, they have taken the Uttara Kanda or Uttara Mimamsa of Veda Vyasa called Brahma Sutra and given their interpretation to establish their school of thought. Shankara did that one, Ramanuja did that one, and Madhva also, not an exception. If we have to establish a school of thought, a Siddhanta, a Matham, then one has to definitely touch the Brahma Sutra and give a commentary on that to establish their philosophy. Brahma Sutra, and then Upanishad, and then the third one is Bhagavad Gita. These 3, one has to write a commentary to establish their principle, their school of thought. Madhva also did the same thing. So the point here is, after Madhvacharya, whoever came, even they did not give much any such a great details about the differences, and they all spoke something or the other in relation to oneness. Another very important concept of Dvaita philosophy, which is Veda, based on the Veda Shruti philosophy, is Madhvacharya had 2 terms called Sakshi and Vishesha. Now, Madhva's philosophy is Tattvavada philosophy, which requires, it goes into a lot of technical details. Unlike any other philosophy, there is a lot of technical details. Therefore, it is very important. Otherwise, if we don't focus, it is very easy for us to get lost into the school of thought. Even though he tried his best to keep it very simple, but there are a lot of terms is being used. So we will be seeing those terms also. Therefore, my request is to pay more attention, extra attention over here. The 3 things makes the Madhvas, the Dvaita Siddhanta is Veda, Sakshi, Vishesha. These 3 things in a permutation and combination makes the entire world into different things. What makes the world different are these 3 things: Veda, Sakshi, Vishesha. Sakshi means, Veda means differences. But why we see the differences? Because of the Sakshi and Vishesha. What is Sakshi means? Sakshi is nothing but it refers to the capacity or a talent for one to cognize an object, to see the object, to see the world. There should be some Shakti, some power within us. That capacity, that ability to cognize the object outside of us is called Sakshi, right? That is very, very important. And the next one is Vishesha. Vishesha means every object that there in the world has certain attributes or qualities. That is called Vishesha. And therefore, the Sakshi and Vishesha makes an object very unique from another object. Not every object identical. That we very well know. In this world, we cannot say another one, two objects are same. Maybe the appearance is same, but the attributes and the Sakshi, that the Shakti within that object may vary. That is a very important thing in Dvaita philosophy, which is why Madhva says no object is equal to another object. Every object is distinctly different from one another. This is what makes a Dvaita philosophy with Veda, Sakshi, and Vishesha permutation combination. Now, Madhva says the Brahman, the absolute truth, is completely different from the matter and the spirit because Brahman is faultless. And that Brahman, if you want to name that Brahman, who that Brahman is, Madhva goes into details of explaining that absolute truth is none other than Vishnu, Narayana, Krishna, Purushottama, Ishvara. All these different terms has been given to that Brahman. He gives lot of evidence how that Brahman, the absolute truth, is none other than Vishnu himself. And he gives many points in his writings that we are going to see later. This is just an introduction, by the way. In many points, he gives how Jivatma and Prakriti is completely different from Brahman. Why they are different? Because Brahman is faultless. Brahman does not have dosha, whereas the Jivatma and Prakriti is full of dosha. Dosha means false, flaw, full of flaw. That is how Madhva says that these three are completely distinct. Ishvara, a Jivatma, and then the Prakriti. So this is the introduction to the Dvaita philosophy. But when we get to the slide on the philosophy, we are going to dive deep into understanding this philosophy. Okay, now let's enter into now a break time for you all to just relax for a little and then enjoy Madhvacharya's biography for a while. And again, as I said, his biography is also so big. And there's a book called Madhva Vijayam, written by Narayana Pandita. Narayana Pandita his son was Trivikrama Pandita. He is a son of Trivikrama Pandita. And the Trivikrama Pandita was an Advaita follower, by the way. He was an Advaita follower. Later, they all became the follower of Madhva, Madhva's disciple. So his biography is well described in Madhva Vijayam. So now Madhvacharya, before we go into Madhvacharya, of course, he was born in a state called Karnataka and a place called Udupi. Udupi Krishna temple is so very famous, and that Udupi Krishna temple was established by Madhvacharya. In the area of Udupi, there was a village called Pajaka. In the Pajaka, which is located close to the shore of Papanashini River. There's a Papanashini River, which is where the village called Pajaka is there. And this Pajaka in the district, in the area of the Udupi, and Udupi is in Karnataka. Karnataka is in the Bharatadesha, in India. There was a couple who lived, Madhyageha Bhattar and Vedavati. This couple, Madhyageha Bhattar and Vedavati, from a Brahmin family. Bhattar means obviously they are Brahmanas, and very devoted to Vishnu. He is very devoted to Vishnu. But he also was coming under the Advaita Siddhanta. Madhyagega was following Advaita Siddhanta, but he was a staunch Vishnu Bhakta. From this, we can understand that even though you may follow the Advaita Siddhanta, one can still be Vishnu, Vaishnava, right? That's the point here. As the Advaita principle goes, we know very well by now, we know how what Advaita principle is, a philosophy is, that is Brahman is formless, qualityless. Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same. There is no Atma and Atma, there's only one Atma. And everything that we see around us is Maya. And Madhyagega is a strong follower of this principle, this philosophy. He had all his wife was chaste wife, and as in a family life, they got two sons. But what happened is, unfortunately, these two children prematurely died. Prematurely died. And for many years, they didn't have a son. But the couple were bereft of a progeny. They were wanting a son so that the dharma can follow. So they did a austerity for 12 years, and they sustained only drinking milk for 12 years. This is very important to understand, right? These people want a son. For them to have a son, they did an austerity for 12 years, drinking only milk, nothing else. That's how they were wanting a son. Not any son, a very special son. Therefore, they went to Ananteshwar temple, which was there, Ananteshwar temple, and they prayed for a son. And the Lord fulfilled their desire and blessed them. In the year 12, in the year 1197, 1197, they got a son who was to look so very beautiful. He was very, even to look at the sun, it was so pleasing. He had some special symptoms that he is not an ordinary son. He is definitely an incarnation of some great devotee or a great devata. They named the son as Narayana and also named the son as Vasudeva. That is how we are going to continue. The son name is Vasudeva. Later he is going to become Madhvacharya. The son was Vasudeva. So we'll be interchangingly using this name as Vasudeva and Narayana. But actually that Vasudeva and Narayana is none other than Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya is Vayudeva's incarnation. As he was a son, he was right from his childhood, everyone was attracted to him. He had a moon-like face, and his activities are so attractive, but he was very, very mischievous, by the way. He was very playful. Right from his childhood, he did a lot of miracles, which prove that he's not an ordinary person, ordinary boy. He is a divine personality. There are many, many miracles he did. We are just going to see few miracles. As he was a newly born child, within few months, he started eating the husk, the grain husk. They have they try to take the husk off and take the rice off from the husk. He started eating a sack full of husk. But the parents were worried what happened when they came and saw that everything was empty. They saw that something is going to happen to the child, because it's not nice for a newly born child to consume anything outside milk. But this child started eating the husk, not even grain. And the child was smiling and being very happy without any health issues. And another time, the child, when he started crawling, he started going to a close by the place. It saw a bull, huge bull. It caught hold of the bull's tail and it started roaming all over the places, the village, hills, and the forest, deep into the forest, and had a nice ride everywhere. So days were passing. He was growing, but very playful. He was so very playful. He showed less interest in studies. But he was going to school, by the way. At the age of 9, he got the sacred ceremony, Upanayana. It took place for him. And Narayana, Vasudeva, he joined school at that time. As soon as he joined the school, the teacher was teaching him something, but he was not paying any attention. Always complaints. But then his interest was only to play. He was doing something or the other, even in the class time. But then the teacher got annoyed one point of time. He said, "You are not interested in studies at all. My throat is getting dried. I'm speaking so much to teach you all. But look at the other boys, how nicely they're attentively hearing. But look at you. You don't even hear anything what I'm saying. You're scribbling something and playing with something. Do you know what I said the last statement? Tell me what I said last." When the teacher asked this one, Vasudeva, to the teacher's surprise, he repeated the entire class without missing anything. He repeated every single thing what the teacher said. And the teacher got stuck with wonder. And then after that point onward, the teacher did not question him what he was doing. He knew this boy is not an ordinary boy. And many times when the teacher makes mistakes in his pronunciation, Narayana, that Vasudeva, used to correct the teacher. That's how he was very sharp, so brilliant right from his birth. Many times, then after many times, the teacher did not even chastise Vasudeva. He just left him. This boy, is beyond our teaching point. He knows everything. Another point of time, what happened is Vasudeva went to his father. He went to his father. He was holding a stick in his hand, and he approached his father. He said, "My dear father, I finished my studies." He's not even finished his studies, but he came to his father. He said, "My dear father, I finished all the studies. Now I'm going to teach Vaishnavism. Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead, and I'm going to refute the Mayavadi philosophy." Mayavadi philosophy is another name for Advaitam. Advaita philosophy is called Mayavada philosophy because, as per the Shankara school of thought, everything is Maya except one, the absolute truth. Yeah, Brahman is Satyam, Jagat is Mithya. Everything is false. Everything is, therefore, it's also known as Mayavada philosophy. So, Vasudeva said to his father with his hand and stick in his hand, he said, "I am going to defeat Mayavadi philosophy." And the father, as I told earlier, he is a strong follower of Advaita Siddhanta, Mayavada Siddhanta. He said he laughed, ridiculed his son. He said, laughed at his son. "My dear little boy, you're an ordinary little boy. What are you talking? You're going to go and defeat Mayavada philosophy, preaching all over the world, all over the country." And he laughed and he said, "Even the stick in his," he said, this is what he said, "My dear boy, the stick in your hand can transform into a huge tree, right? If that can happen, then what you said can also happen. The ordinary stick that you're holding, if that can become a huge tree, then what you said can happen." This is what the father said. Another point, what he was trying to drive the point is that the stick can never become a tree. What you are desiring will never happen. That was his point. But Vasudeva took it very seriously. He just walked out of the house, went to the backyard, and then put the stick into the ground. He did this one within some time. For everyone's surprise, that stick, which was nothing an ordinary stick, turned into a giant banyan tree. And the father was amazed at that point of time. He proved that now, my father, how this ordinary stick became a banyan tree, as you said, my words will also be true, that I will one day defeat the Advaita Siddhanta. Advaita Siddhanta. And then days passed. He was becoming big boy, a youth, a teenager. At that point of time, it is said that he was around 12 years. Some place it says he was 16 years. Then he expresses desire. The parents wants him to get married, but he expresses desire that he wants to renounce and become a sannyasi. Like any other parents, his parents also said, "No, no, 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 you can't do that one. You can't do that one." But he was very determined in his idea. He wanted to become a sannyasi. What happened is that within few days, Madhyageha and Vedavati, his parents, gave a birth to another son. Vasudeva took this as an opportunity and went to his parents and fell at his feet and said, "My dear parents, now that you have a son, release me. That son who's born now will take care of you. Whatever son has to perform, that son will perform. Please do not stop me." And then he left the house. And he joined an ashram which was close by. In that ashram, there was a sannyasi by Achyuta Preksha. He was an Advaiti, another Advaiti. So he joined that particular ashram. Over there, he was learning the Shastra. And when over there also, Achyuta Preksha, he expresses a desire that he want to become a sannyasi. And then Achyuta Preksha said, granted him sannyas and gave him a name Purna Praksha or Purna Prakasha. Purna Praksha. Now Vasudeva, whose name was Narayana, got a new name called Purna Praksha. Purna Praksha. Achyuta Praksha, as he was with Purna Praksha, seeing his sharp intelligence, he understood that he could be the next Mathatipati. Mathatipati means one who can take over this Mat after Achyuta Praksha. Therefore, he also awarded him another name, Ananda Tirtha. Now, Vasudeva, Narayana, Purna Praksha, and he got another name from the same Guru, Ananda Tirtha. Ananda Tirtha. Same, later he got another name, Madhva, who became Madhvacharya. Because he was completely immersed in the bliss of the Lord, he got this name, Ananta Tirtha Madhvacharya. Days were passing, the Guru and disciple discusses lot of spiritual topics. As they were discussing a lot of spiritual topics, there comes the discussion of differences of opinion. Because Achyuta Preksha is from Advaita Siddhanta, Madhva was totally against Advaita Siddhanta. He was expressing his difference of opinion of whatever Achyuta Preksha was saying. Achyuta Preksha was saying. And then how Achyuta Preksha was saying, Brahman is formless, doesn't have attribute, doesn't have a name, doesn't have any qualities, doesn't have a place. He was still all, but then Madhva's philosophy was that the Lord is a Lord, he is a person, he has a form, he has a qualities, all those things. There was a lot of difference of opinion. And another point of time, Achyuta Preksha said this world is all false. Whereas Madhvacharya said, no, this world is not false, it's true. So things were going on like this. After a few years, then Madhvacharya decided to go on a tour, on a yatra. So he went on a yatra. As he was going on a yatra, he started defeating and debating and defeating many Advaitis, effortlessly, without any difficulty, without any difficulties. Now, one point that we need to understand is Madhva agrees. We spoke about how Madhva did not agree to Shankara's Advaita philosophy. Now, Madhva agrees to Ramanuja Siddhanta, Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta, that Brahman is as a form, Brahman as guna, Brahman as a name, place, everything. He agreed to Ramanuja philosophy, that Ramanuja also denied that this world is false, because he said that world is true. Likewise, Madhva also agreed this world is true. This world is true. And he also agreed to Ramanujacharya that Jivatma is separate and Paramatma is separate and Prakriti is separate. Until this, everything he agreed. One thing that Madhvacharya did not agree to Ramanujacharya Siddhanta is where Ramanujacharya said this living entities and Prakriti are part and parcel of the Lord Paramatma or Bhagavan. The living entities and the Prakriti are Sharira of that Paramatma. Sharira Atma Bhava. You should remember that we covered in our previous session that Sharira Atma Bhava is a foundation for the Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta. That part, Madhva denied. He did not agree to that one. That is Parabrahman, that Brahman had the Prakriti and Jivatma as his body is refuted by Madhvacharya. His point is that why he refuted is because the absolute truth is pure. It is not contaminated, it's always pure. Whereas Jivatma and Prakriti is impure. They have a lot of faults. How can the impure and pure can be one with together as Sharira and Atma? That is not going to work. That is not possible. So he said this. And then after that, until this point, Madhvacharya has not written anything. He has not written any literature. Now he is starting to write his philosophy in writing. For that, he went to Badrika Ashram. He took darshan of Badrinarayana over there. And he went to Himalayas. He also took darshan of Vyasa Maharishi and Narayana Rishi, Naranarayana. He took the blessings of Narayana Rishi and he started writing his philosophy. First one was commentary to Brahma Sutram. You see, this is an important thing. Every great Acharya, they give commentary on Brahma Sutram, right? Which is nothing but the commentary of the Upanishads. given by Veda Vyasa. And the Brahma Sutram commentary that Madhva wrote was named as Anubhashyam. This book he established is Dvaita philosophy, the duality. What is the philosophy? The difference between Brahman and Jivatma, the difference between within the Jivatma, the difference between the Jivatma and the Prakriti, the difference within the matter, this Prakriti, the difference between the matter and Brahman. These differences are Madhvacharya's Dvaita philosophy. After that point onwards, as he was traveling around, Madhvacharya started getting more followers, many followers. Many followers from Advaita Siddhanta started becoming his disciple. The prominent one, Shobana Bhattar, number one. Two of them are very prominent. Shobana Bhattar was number one. Swami Shastri was the second one. With them, he was traveling many parts of the India. And these two, Shobana Bhattar and Swami Shastri, started writing commentaries to Madhvacharya's writings. Madhvacharya writings, whatever he wrote, these Shobana Bhattar and Swami Shastri started writing commentaries to that one. After completing North India Yatra, he returned back to Udupi. There he again started preaching his philosophy, Dvaita philosophy, very heavily. And many people started following him. One very prominent person from Udupi who became Madhvacharya's disciple was Achyuta Preksha. Who was Achyuta Preksha? The one who was his guru before. He also became Madhva's disciple. And then not only became Madhva's disciple, and he also gave the entire ashram to Madhvacharya, and Madhvacharya took over that ashram as well. Then Madhvacharya, who did the Pratishta of Krishna deity in Udupi, over there in Udupi, he is the one who established the deity worship over there. This deity, the Krishna deity in Udupi, was actually made by Vishwakarma, and Rukmini, Queen Rukmini and Gopis worshipped this deity. Madhvacharya not only established the philosophy, Dvaita philosophy, as an Acharya, as a leader of Mat, he also set rules to how to worship the deities, how to do offerings, what timings the temple should open, what timings the temple should close, what are the festivals need to be performed, all the different things he also established over there in the Udupi, over there in the temple. Then he again started traveling to the north side. When he went this time, he had a lot of people welcoming him with great respect and love, because by then he became so very famous. One point of time, as he was traveling, he came to one place where there was a very wicked, extremely wicked king who doesn't respect anyone. He was sitting on a throne. Madhvacharya went to his assembly over there. When he understood this king was extremely arrogant, then Madhvacharya, just by his glance alone, he brought the king down to his knees and made him do menial services, made him do many menial services. And another incident, miracle that he did was, one point of time, Madhvacharya walked on the water. When he walked on the water and crossed over, his feet were dry without any wetness. Another point of time, Madhvacharya started speaking started speaking languages which he never spoke before. Many languages. And he also, one point of time, told himself that in his previous life, he was Bhima. Another point of time, as he was traveling into the forest, he fought with a tiger and defeated the tiger, and tiger ran away from Madhvacharya. Another point of time, there was a huge rock which was blocking his way. He effortlessly just threw that big rock. It's not rock, means a small rock, huge one. Effortlessly, he just threw the rock to the other side of it. He did many miracles. His Madhva Vijayam speaks a lot of such great things that Madhvacharya did. But then coming back to our point here, that he is none other than the incarnation or the Amsa of Vayu Devata, Vayu Bhagavan. And then whenever he did any pravachana, whenever he gave any preaching, lectures, he always quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabharata, and many, of course, from Ramayana also. But his two main books were Bhagavatam and Mahabharata. Amazing details. amazing details from Bhagavatam and Mahabharata he gives. He picks up story and gives such a details which no one heard before. That later became a problem. Many people who never heard the explanation before, and this is all new to them from what they heard from Madhvacharya, they were not happy about it. They started saying that he's teaching something totally different. So some people, they plotted a plan to somehow the other put defame Madhvacharya. They want to do something. So what they did, they understood that Madhvacharya, they thought that Madhvacharya is getting his intelligence, all his knowledge from the literatures that he has written, that he has in possession, his library, right? If we take away that books from him, then he will not have any references. He will not have anything to go and study and come back and debate. That's how they thought, that they limited knowledge of Madhvacharya to their knowledge, how they are. Most of us, we have to prepare ourselves to give a class. And they thought like that, if we don't have help, if we don't have material, if we don't have a presentation, if we don't have any notes, I cannot do myself anything, right? So we have to put enough of effort to speak, deliver a lecture even for 10 minutes for that matter. We have to prepare ourselves. They thought Madhvacharya is also falling in their category, that Madhvacharya is going to the room and preparing every week and coming on Sunday evening at 6:30, like Lal Gopal Das, and presenting everything easily after one week. That's how they thought. So they stole all the books, everything, and hid somewhere. Madhvacharya came and saw that books were missing, but then he went on his preaching. He continued without any difficulties. And when these people saw, they were amazed. But then what happened was, there was a king close by, and the king understood what has happened, and he found those thieves, those robbers. He caught hold of them and recovered all the books and gave those books back to Madhvacharya. And he punished those thieves. When Madhvacharya got those books, he became so very happy, as if he found a son who was lost for many ages. He became so very happy. So after this incident that took place, that's when Madhvacharya wrote a detailed commentary. He also wrote a commentary first time before in Brahma Sutra. This time he wrote a detailed commentary on Brahma Sutra called Madhva Bhashyam. In this, very clearly established the Dvaita philosophy and defeating other philosophy altogether. Days were passing, and in year 1317, in Udupi, Madhvacharya left his body. When he left his body, he was 79 years. He has established such a strong Siddhanta philosophy that no Acharya has ever established in the past or later after Madhvacharya. That is the greatness of this Siddhanta. His Siddhanta is the greatest Siddhanta, which go to the extreme, condemning to the extreme point of criticizing Advaita philosophy. Philosophy, by the way, not the person. He defeated the philosophy. He went to the point saying that the Shankara's Mayavada philosophy is no different than Buddhist Sunyavada philosophy. That's the extreme that he says. There's no difference between Advaita philosophy and Sunyavada philosophy, which is Buddhist philosophy. Buddhist philosophy is Avedis. They don't believe in Vedas. He compares and tells these both there's no difference. That means better you don't take up Advaita philosophy. So that's how he says. And he lived for 79 years. During this period of time, he has written 37 granthams. 37 grantha he has written. All this grantha is glorifying, establishing the supremacy of Vishnu. And all this 37 speaking about his Siddhanta, Dvaita Siddhanta. So the first one is, this is not in a sequence, by the way, but we have these numbers over here. The one that he wrote was Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnayam. In this, he picks up, highlights some of the incidents that took place in Mahabharata, some of the stories, and he drove the point. In all the stories, he drove one point. That point, one point is the fight between good and evil. And finally, it is the good that wins, bad loses. This is his theme of this book from the stories, important stories from Mahabharata. He says this itihasa, that is Mahabharata, represents our daily life. And he also appreciates Bhishma Bhakti, especially on his deathbed, how he recited Vishnu Sahasranama. And in this way, he established the Dvaita Siddhanta through the stories. And the second book he wrote was Bhagavata Tatparya Nirnaya. This is a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and selected stories from Srimad Bhagavatam establishing Dvaita philosophy. And the third one he wrote was Gita Tatparya Nirnayam. Gita Tatparya Nirnayam is commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita condemning Advaita Siddhanta. Again, he wrote a Gita commentary called Gita Bhashyam, giving details verse by verse by verse. The previous one was not verse by verse by verse, whereas the Gita Bhashyam is verse by every sloka he says, and he says, do karma with detachment, no attachment. By doing so, one can avoid reincarnation or repeated incarnation. The only way to avoid taking birth again is doing karma with detachment, without attachment. And that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And that will lead one to bhakti. He says Bhagavad Gita, Gita was directly given by the Lord himself. Therefore, it is the condensed version of all the Upanishads, Vedas. And then the fifth one is Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. Here he has given the commentary on Brahma Sutra with 2500 grantha. He has written 2500 grantha. One grantha means 32 letters. One grantha means 32 letters. Like that, 2500 granthas he has written as a commentary to Brahma Sutra. Okay. And the sixth one is Anubhashyam. Anubhashyam is the one that he wrote very first when he got the darshan of Narayana Rishi and Veda Vyasa. He wrote a Brahma Sutra commentary over there. And the seventh one is Anuvakyanam. Anuvakyanam this is a Brahma Sutra commentary, but here he gives a connection between one Adhikarana to another Adhikarana. Adhikarana is in a section within the Adhyayas. Okay. The one Adhikarana to another Adhikarana, what are the connections? So he gives in this particular book. From 8 to 17, 10 literatures called Dasa Prakarana. Over here, he talks about the first one is Pramana Lakshanam. In this literature, he says which one can be taken as authority for references. What are the references? Pramana Lakshanam. Kada Lakshanam. Kada Lakshanam is he speaks about the use conversation or the argument. What are the useful conversation arguments? What are the useless conversation or a useless argument? Vadam, Vidanda Vadam. That he explains over there. Then in the third one, which is the Mithyatva, Anumana, Kandanam, where he says this, there are three Kandanam. Three Kandanam means condemning. Three things condemns against Advaita Siddhanta. Mithyatva, Anumana Kandanam, Upadi Kandanam, Mayavada Kandanam. These are the three literature that he speaks how the Advaita philosophy is wrong. And then he goes on Tattva Sankhyanam. Tattva Sankhyanam, he gives 10 simple slokas to establish Dvaita Siddhanta. And then over here, Tattva Sankhyanam, and then Tattva Vikanam, Tattva Vivekam. Tattva Vivekam is more detailed to the previous book. And the next one is Tatvyota Yodham. In this literature, he gives a difference between the Purusha, Parama Purusha, and the living entity, and the way to attain the moksha. That he explains over here. And the next one is Karma Nirnayam. In this, what a human should perform. That's the 16th one. What are the duties of a human? That he explains over there. And the next one is Vishnu Tattva Vinirnayam. Over here, he speaks about Vishnu Tattva. He gives the details about Vishnu over here. And then the 18th one is Nyaya Vivarnanam. Nyaya Vivarnanam. Here is also there's another book, Jnana Vivarnanam, or he speaks about the Brahma Sutra again in 600 Grantham. And Tantra Shara Sangraham. Tantra Shara Sangraham is how to worship Vishnu. Tadachara Samriti. Tadachara Samriti is what are the duties of a Vaishnava. Krishnamrita Maharnavam. A version of Krishna's beautiful, auspicious qualities. He speaks about how to meditate on Krishna. And then Dvadasa Stotram. Over here, Dvadasa Stotram. In this one, he speaks about Narsimha Dev and Krishna Avata. Dvadasa Stotram. We glorify them in the Narsimha and then and Krishna. And he also speaks about Rigveda Bhashyam. He has written something called Bhashyam on the Rigveda. The commentaries on the Rigveda, selected verse from the Rigveda, is given that one also. And from 26 to 35, he has written Bhashyam, commentaries on Upanishad. Like Shankara wrote a commentary on Upanishad. Even Madhva has written commentaries on Upanishad. Isha, Vashya, Kena, Kata, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Aitreya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, Svetaswara, all these different Upanishad, Madhvacharya has written commentary on them. Lastly, the two things, Didi Nirnayam and Nyaya Pattati. In these two philosophy, he made his readers, made things easy for his readers to understand his philosophy. That is what he has done in this two literature. So these are the 37 literature that he has written. Now, Madhva's Dvaita defeats Shankara's Advaita, whereas Madhva's Dvaita and Ramanuja Vishishta Advaita, they agree in many things. One thing they don't agree is the Sharira Atma Bhava. Also, he does not agree that here's the important point, that Madhvacharya does not agree all the Jivatma are eligible to attain Mukti, Moksha, liberation. Not all the Jivatma are eligible to attain Mukti. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, Ramanuja's point is every Jivatma is eligible to attain Mukti, whereas in Madhva Siddhanta, it is not so. When we go to the philosophy, we'll read more, we'll understand more, and understand why Madhva is saying so. Now we are going to get into the Siddhanta. Now the Siddhanta. What is Madhva philosophy? Madhva's Dvaita Siddhanta. It is Dvaita means if you see the picture of Madhvacharya, he will have his two fingers raised up. These two fingers. That means Dvaitam, two. Two means it's not one, it's more, 2 plus. We should not just take as 2, which means it is just not one, there are many. It is just not one. The truth is not one, the truth is many. Before understanding Madhva's philosophy, it is very important we recollect what we have studied so far in the previous class. Shankara established a quick crash rundown here. Shankara established his Advaita Siddhanta. Through this, he explained that commonality between Brahman and Jiva. Right? Brahman and Jivatma are one. They are one and the same. After Shankara, Bhaskara and Yadava Prakasha. Yadava Prakasha was Acharya of Ramanujacharya, right? Yadava Prakasha and Bhaskara, Yadava Prakasha, Ramanujacharya, and Nimbarkacharya, they appeared. From Shankara's ideology, there was a slight variation in Advaita Siddhanta by Bhaskara and Yadava Prakasha. What Bhaskara and Yadava Prakasha said is, Brahman is absolute, but the Jivatmas are minute part of that Brahman. Jivatma are minute part of the Brahman. And therefore, they varied from Advaita Siddhanta, and their Siddhanta is called Veda Abheda Siddhanta. Veda Abheda Siddhanta. Even though they came from the Advaita Siddhanta school of thought, Bhaskara and Yadava Prakasha, they varied slightly. Brahman is one. But the Brahman, in that Brahman, the Jivatma are minute part. The Jivatma minute part. Therefore, their Siddhanta is called Veda Abheda Siddhanta. After that came Ramanujacharya. who established the relationship between the Paramatma and Jivatma. He established, there was a 9 relationship that we discussed about the relationship between the Paramatma and Jivatma, and how Jivatma is nothing but body of Paramatma, and that the relationship is not temporary, it is permanent. It's a permanent relationship. This together is a permanent relationship. This is called Vishishta Advaita. Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta. That is, there are attributes to that Brahman. So it is a qualified non-dualism, which means that Jivatma and Paramatma will always be together. This is a very important point. Please hear carefully that the Jivatma and Paramatma are always together. Only the Jivatma does not realize that. And of course, the Prakriti will not realize because it is Achit, it doesn't have intelligence. But Jivatma also does not realize that it's part and parcel of God. It is always together. That is the Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta, what Ramanuja established. Next came Nimbarkacharya. Nimbarkacharya appeared after Ramanujacharya. Though he accepted the relationship, but he did show the difference between them. He showed some difference between them. Right? So his established Siddhanta is called Dvaita Advaita Vadam. And this Dvaita Advaita Vadam will be our topic for discussion in our next session by Nimbarkacharya. Now, that is going to be discussed later in more details. For now, we understand that he accepts the relationship, Nimbarkacharya accepts the relationship, but he also pointed out the differences. Therefore, its Siddhanta is called Dvaita Advaita Vadam. Advaita Vadam. Now, so far, after all these saints, that is, after four centuries of Shankara and 100 years after Ramanuja, Madhva appeared and he established and he saw the differences between the objects or between the substances. And therefore, he established a Dvaita Siddhanta. So far, now, in our country, there are many Siddhantas, but the primary ones are the Advaita Siddhanta, Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta, Dvaita Siddhanta. And everything else that we see are Bheda Abheda, Dvaita Advaita, Shuddha Advaita, and different combinations and flavors that comes from these 3 principal Siddhanta. Okay. Now, the uniqueness of that is an introduction that we need to know about before we get into the Dvaita philosophy here. A uniqueness of Madhvacharya is that it totally rejects oneness in any form between Jivatma, Prakriti, and Paramatma or Ishvara. There is no connection at all so forever between these 3 things. Madhvacharya Siddhanta. This is Bheda Shruti, from the Bheda Shruti. On the other side, the Parabrahman is Purnam. Purnam is complete. It's full of Shakti. Whereas the Jivatma and Prakriti are also having Shakti, but they are not as Purnam, as complete as Paramatma, Parabrahman. Therefore, they can never come close to or become one with Parabrahman, Paramatma. The difference that there is, that also these differences are Shashvatam. Shashvatam means it exists all the time. They won't change at all. And he proves this from the statements of Upanishad, from the Upanishad. Those statements that he proves is philosophy are not the Abheda Shruti, or called Bheda Shruti, to establish Dvaita Siddhanta. Now, as per the Madhvacharya's philosophy, the Brahman has qualities, does activities, it has parts, does change its forms, it has attributes, of course it has form. Its form is unlimited forms. He establishes this particular principle very strongly. And how he established the differences of the Jivatma and Prakriti through the 2 terms that we saw already in the beginning of the presentation, Sakshi and Vishesha. These are the 2 things which make the differences. That is, Sakshi means the ability for the Jivatma to cognize an object, any object for that matter, outside of it. That is the Sakshi, and that is also called as Shakti. Every Jivatma has this Shakti, and the Shakti that present in every Jivatma differs, not the same. And this Shakti in Jivatma is not complete like the Shakti of Bhagavan. Okay? Vishesha. What is Vishesha? Vishesha means the attribute, the ability that combines an object with certain attribute. It's called Vishesha. Okay? Take an object, and for an object to be a unique object, I take a pot, a blue color pot. What is the uniqueness of this pot? This pot is different from a rod. Why? This is round in shape, not straight like a stick. It is blue in color. It has a neck and it has a big size of belly. That makes it different. Right? Therefore, the Visheshana, the attributes of an object makes it different. Within, this is the important thing that we should understand, that the 3 points of Veda, Shakshi, and then the Vishesha makes a difference in this world. Variegatedness, difference of things that we see in this world. Now, with that said, the Madhva Siddhanta has 11 important things that he says that what are the 11 important things? The first thing is Hari Vishnu. Vishnu, who is Hari, is the one who has been mentioned in the Vedas, as Parabrahman, as Brahman. The deeper meaning of the Vedas is to know that Vishnu is Nimitta Karana. He is the Karana of this world to be created. That's number one. Number two, this world that we see is not Maya. It is not illusion. It is real. It is very much real. It has been there all the time. And who created this world? Hari. Vishnu created this world. And who added the attributes to this world? The Visheshana to this world? Hari added this Visheshana to this world. And who maintains it? Hari maintains it. Who destroys it? Hari destroys it. That's second one. Number three, it is he, that Hari, who grants liberation to the living entities. The living entities are going through the samsara of repeated birth, death, and disease and old age. Only way that Jivatma can get out of this samsara is by getting liberated. And who can give liberation to the Jivatma? Only Vishnu can give the liberation to the Jiva, grant the liberation to the Jivatma. That's number three. Number four, between Parabrahman, Jivatma, and the matter, that is Prakriti, there are innumerable, unlimited, infinite differences. We cannot even calculate. We cannot even measure. So many differences are there between Brahman, between Ishvara, Jivatma, and Prakriti. That's number four. Number five, Jivatma are under the control of Paramatma or Brahman, Parabrahman. Jivatma are not independent entities, even though they are separated, fully separated, but they are not free of someone's control. They are always under the control of Parabrahman. Not only under the control, they are obligated to the Parabrahman. They are very much obligated to Parabrahman. That's number five. Number six, Jivatma are of three categories, which is we are going to discuss in another slide separately. But Jivatmas are of three categories. Please remember that for now. Number seven, Bhukti means the Jivatma which attains its natural position of Ananda. Ananda means to be in bliss, to be happy all the time, blissful in at given time, any time. That is Mukti. Number eight, for one to attain Mukti, the marga, the means to attain Mukti is Bhakti Marga. Bhakti Marga is the only way that one can attain Mukti. And how the Bhakti should be? That Bhakti should be pure, unalloyed, without any motive, selfless service. Selflessly it has to be towards the Lord. And one should know that Paratvam, the greatness of Bhagavan, Hari, is not an ordinary person, he is great. And he is the only one who can give moksha to me. And the Bhakti must be apart from the Bhakti and love and affection that we have towards our family members. I have a Bhakti towards my parents, and my children may have Bhakti towards me. And my Bhakti in a form of a love can be with the spouse and towards my property, towards my belongings. But the Bhakti towards Hari should be above all this Bhakti that we have towards the material things, beyond all these things. There should be a big, vast difference that the Bhakti that we have towards the material things to Bhagavan. And lastly, that bhakti all the time should be consistent. It should not be only on Sunday evenings or when we go to the temple or when we are into the problem in the life, not only that time. Or when we need something from God, not only that time. The bhakti should be consistent, constant, without any break, all the time meditating upon the Lord. Amala Bhakti is called Amala Bhakti. That is number 8. Number 9, to attain mukti, one needs Hari's compassion. Even though Hari gives the liberation to us, it is only by the compassion, anugraha, mercy of Hari that one can attain mukti. Not simply by our own effort we can attain mukti. Even though we may become a perfect, great bhakti yogi, still Hari's anugraha must be there for us to attain mukti. That is number 9. Number 10, there are, Madhva says there are 3 pramanas. He also agrees the same thing, like other acharyas in the past, that pratyaksha pramana, anuman pramana, shabda pramana. These are the pramanams by which we can understand the absolute truth. And number 11 is Siddhanta says that through this pramanam that we gain knowledge, and the knowledge should be, the object of our knowledge should be bhakti towards Hari. That's number 11. We cultivate there are 3 pramanas: pratyaksha pramana, anumana pramana, shabda pramana. And with these 3 pramanas, we understand the object, different object. We develop knowledge of that object, and that knowledge of that object should be, the object should be none other than Hari. He should be our point of goal of worship. That is Madhva's Siddhanta. Now, with that said, the philosophy is not over yet. So we are going to get into the details of that Brahman. Next, we are going to see the details of what is the Jivatma, and we are going to see what is Prakriti. And then we are going to, as usual, we'll get into the conclusion of what is the means to attain Brahman and what is the solution and so forth. That's how we are going to end the presentation. Now, let's understand Brahman. Brahman is Parabrahman, Ishvara, Paramatma. All the different names is been given to Brahman. That Brahman as a name which is Hari, Narayana, Vishnu, Ishvara, Purushottama, Krishna, Madhava, Keshava, all these different names, he only refers all the names of Krishna, Vishnu to be the absolute truth, absolute Brahman. As per the Advaita Siddhanta, that Brahman and Jivatma is Aikyam. Aikyam means one. They become one. They become merged into one. Whereas we don't see that one, the merging concept in Dvaita philosophy. There is no merging at all. There is no oneness at all. Even though we attain moksha, it's not that we become one. We remain to be separate all the time. Always we remain separate. That is Dvaita philosophy. This Parabrahman, as per Madhvacharya, has different names, many hundreds and thousands and millions of names, as we just saw. And also this Parabrahman has many forms, not just one form, many forms. And also the Parabrahman has many qualities. All the qualities are unlimited, many qualities. All the qualities are auspicious qualities. Every qualities are auspicious qualities. Unlimited forms, unlimited qualities, unlimited names. His forms cannot be measured. He has so many forms. So he's full of beauty. He's full of Shakti. He's full of compassion. He's full of mercy. With all auspicious qualities, he's full of Tejas. That is Brahman. These are the definition given by Madhvacharya. And this Brahman is made of Jnana and Anandam. Jnana and Anandam. Made of knowledge and bliss. And this Jnana and Anandam is a guna. Gunam are the characteristic of that Brahman, and is completely independent. That's another important point. Jivatma is dependent, whereas Paramatma, Bhagavan, is completely independent. Is fully independent, is fully as all the Shakti, omnipotent, omnipresent. He knows everything what's going on, is present in all places also. Jivatma, but he also controls the Jivatma and Prakriti. He maintains them, he controls them, he carries them, he encourages them, and he protects them. That is a duty, a job responsibility for dog. If you want to ask about job description about Paramatma, that is what we went through now. That is what he is. His resume says he is independent, he is full of knowledge, he is full of ananda, bliss, he is full of shakti, he has a complete control of jivatma and paramatma, and his job duties is to control all the jivatmas, to maintain them and to destroy them, to carry them, to encourage them, and to protect them. These are the things here. That now the difference that we need to understand here is, one of the important point to note is that the jivatma and the jada, the prakriti, does not come from Parabrahman. A very important difference from the other school of thought that we saw previously, where everything comes from Brahman, God, and everything goes back within God. Within God. From God, everything comes out. Within God, everything goes back at the time of destruction, pralaya, right? Whereas in the Dvaita philosophy, nothing comes out of God. This is a very important difference that we have to know. He is not an origin of his production, generation, because they all exist. Only thing is, they exist in an unmanifested state to what becomes a manifested state. But it's not that it's coming from the Lord and becomes manifested, and when it goes back to the Lord, it becomes unmanifested. That is not the teachings of Madhvacharya. Now, one important question may come, that if nothing is coming from the Lord, then how can he take the ownership of controlling everything? If I've given a birth to a child, then I have little bit of control over their child. I cannot control my neighbor's child because that child is not coming out of me. Right? If this Jivatma and Prakriti is not coming from the Paramatma, Bhagavan, then how can we say that Bhagavan, Parabrahman, has control over the living entities and Prakriti? Madhvacharya explained that we should understand something, that there is something called temporary. The world is classified into temporary things and permanent things. The temporary things appears for some time, goes through some changes and disappear. Whereas the permanent thing remains permanently as it is, doesn't get destroyed, but simply goes through some changes in some level. But it's not completely changing by itself, even though it goes through some changes, but they remain as a permanent entity. By this, we can understand what this means. That which remains permanent, which doesn't go through changes, is Atma. That which always go through changes, and whatever they in the certain forms is only temporary, that is Prakriti. And how does this change happens? This is where the question comes. Challenges to Madhvacharya. And then how does the Parabrahman can control this living entities and Prakriti? This is how it controls. It controls through his sankalpam, through his will. Through his will, he makes all these changes. Every changes that going through is simply because of the sankalpa of the Brahman. But this Brahman, because of the Ajnana, again, this is very famous term that we have not alien to us, not foreign to us. We know this called Ajnana Avidya. And this Avidya is also given to the Jivatma, and that Avidya is also destroyed by the Paramatma. Paramatma adds the Avidya, Ajnana to the Jivatma through his Sankalpa, and through his Sankalpa, it is the same Brahman removes and destroys the Ajnana from the Jivatma, that covering of the Jivatma, to make it into a natural position. Therefore, it is through the Sankalpa of Paramatma, Brahman, Parabrahman, he can handle and manage and control the Prakriti and Achit and Chit. That is, the Prakriti is the creation of this world, the matter, and the Jivatma. That's how we does these things. For one to attain moksha, from this we can clearly understand it is only possible by the grace of the Lord, by the anugraham of the Lord. One can attain moksha. And how do one attain moksha? It is not easily possible. One has to go through the spiritual progress slowly and come to a stage where one can get the mercy of Brahman and attain moksha. So for the Jivatma to progress and attain moksha, Brahman Anugraham plays a very important role. That is Madhvacharya's strong opinion, very strong opinion. Without the Anugraha, one cannot attain moksha. And Parabrahman is the cause Nimitta Karanam, for the changes that we see. And lastly, over here, the 8 causes that happens because of the Lord are these 8 causes. That is, the Lord is the one who adds the attributes to the Jivatma and to the Prakriti. Number one. Number two, it is the Bhagavan who protects the living entities. Number three, he is the one who destroys everything. Number four, he is the one who controls everything, living entities and Prakriti. He is the one who controls. Number five, he exhibits everything. Whatever we are seeing, he is the one who is exhibiting everything. He also hides. Whenever times comes, he also hides certain things from the Jivatma. Number seven, he makes the samsara in a position. He establishes samsara, this world, to be established in a certain location, certain position. And lastly, he is the one who gives mukti, moksha. And the last part of Brahma principles that Madhvacharya says is there are 2 types of avatara, Vibhava avatara, Vyuha avatara. Vibhava avatara are nothing but the Lord who descend into this world, Rama Krishnadi. Rama as a Krishna, Varaha, and many avatars. This is called Vibhava avatara. Vyuha avatara are nothing but Vasudeva, Shankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. These 4 are the Vyuha avatara. And these Vyuha avatara takes a position, special position to create, to maintain, and destruction, for the destruction. Besides these 2 things, he also adds one important thing that in his explanation of Vibhava Avatara, he says Krishna Avatara. He says that Krishna Avatara and Rama Avatara is a complete Avatara. How do you say that? Because he refers to Bhagavatam, Krishna to Bhagavan Swayam. He quotes this particular sloka from the Krishna to Bhagavan Swayam, means he is the original personality of Godhead, a supreme personality of Godhead. Likewise, even though Rama appeared as an avatar, as a human, but he exhibited many miracles, many superhuman activities. From that, we can understand that he is also a complete supreme personality of Godhead. They both are complete by themselves. And he gives evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam also. And Vibhava Avatara, he says, Vyuga Avatara, he says that we don't have visibility to the Vibhava Avatara, Vyuga Avatara. We have not seen the Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. We have never seen them. We cannot see them. Whereas Vibhava Avatara happened in the past. And in the future Avatara, Kalki, we may not be even there. Right? Even if we are there, I don't know whether we'll realize is Avatara, Kalki Avatara. So Vibhava Avatara, right now, we don't have access to it. We have never seen it's all past. In the future, I'm not going to be there. So I don't know Vibhava Avatara. Vyuha Avatara, very difficult to see. Then he says there's one more avatara which everyone can see and worship, and which is equal to the Vibhava avatara. That is Vigraha. He says Vigraha. He doesn't say Archa avatara. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, this particular thing is classified as Archa avatara. Whereas in the Madhva Sampradaya, he doesn't call that as Archa avatara. He says Vigraha. Vigraha. Madhvacharya says the temples are very important. The worship at temple is very important, and that the deities at the temple are very important to be worshipped, and they are equally powerful, and they are free of all the dosha that we can see. That is Madhva Sampradaya, where he establishes these different things. Now, another important thing is we are getting closer to not finish, unfortunately. We have some more slides to go through. Please, I'm not going to rush this time, but for those who have to leave on time, please feel to leave, and this will be recorded, and you can always leisurely listen to rest of the slides that we are going to cover. And if you have time here, please stay back and participate. Thank you. Now, another one important thing that Madhvacharya says, Achintya Shakti. Achintya Shakti means the Lord has Achintya Shakti. That Shakti is inconceivable. One cannot conceive his Shakti at all. That is only God has his Achintya Shakti. With his Achintya Shakti, he can do anything and everything. Another important point that Madhvacharya adds is about Mahalakshmi, Sri Mahalakshmi. According to his philosophy, Siddhanta, he says that Sri Mahalakshmi is Nityam. She is eternally present. She is also separate from Vishnu. Her qualities and Shakti is also is very greater than the Jivatma, but for some degree it is lesser than Paramatma, Vishnu. Please understand, Sri Mahalakshmi is eternal consort of Vishnu. Her Shakti is greater, superior than the Jivatmas, but little lesser than the Paramatma Vishnu. She is a Nitya Mukta Jiva. She is a Nitya Mukta Jiva. She is also Jivatma, by the way, but not a Jivatma like us. Not a Jivatma like us. And she is a Adhisthana Devata for the Prakriti. The predominant deity for the Prakriti, Adhisthana Devata. She is Adhisthana Devata. So now, another thing we need to know from this Siddhanta is that rejection, how Madhvacharya rejects the Advaita Siddhanta and Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta completely. That is, in the Siddhanta, this Advaita Siddhanta, he completely rejects, no question about it, because Advaita Siddhanta says this covers, the Parabrahman is covered by Maya. Parabrahman, the Brahman itself covers by Maya. So the Brahman is, over here, Brahman is not covered by Maya, which is Madhvacharya's philosophy. Maya is not an obstacle for Brahman. And more so ever, there is no any relationship between Brahman and Jivatma. Therefore, Parabrahman is pure. Parabrahman is aloof from Prakriti and Jivatma. Technically, this is called Amalatvam. Parabrahman is Amalatvam. There is no malam at all. There is no trace of any faults at all. That Parabrahman rules over and controls every living entities and Prakriti. That is how the Dvaita Siddhanta differs from Advaita Siddhanta. It differs from Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta also. With that said, now we are going to move to Jivatma. As per Dvaita's philosophy, what is this Jivatma? How many Jivatma categories of Jivatmas are there? Let's understand this one. Now, those statements which speaks about difference of Jivatma and Paramatma, as we already were now very familiar, is called Veda Shruti. Either using this one, this is how the philosophies have been established. How they established, the Acharya established the difference between the Jivatma and Paramatma. One of the very famous Shruti Vakya from the Upanishad, which shows very clearly the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma, is this particular Veda Shruti, which is called Veda Shruti. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya Samana Vriksham Parisasva Jate Tayur Anyaha Pipalam Swadhu Adi Anashanana Anyo Abhisaka Shashite. There where it says that, the beautiful the sloka, it says that in a tree there is two birds. One bird is busy eating the fruits in the tree. The other birds simply watching that bird which is eating the fruits. And that bird which is eating the fruit, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. Whereas the other bird which is not eating but just watching, it stays as it is. This is a beautiful analogy. Says, therefore, Madhvacharya says, the Vedas are very clearly say that there is Paramatma is separate. The bird which is watching is Paramatma. The bird which is eating is another bird, another entity, which is Jivatma. Jivatma is going through his karma, whereas Paramatma is witnessing the Jivatma, what it's going through, and granting and controlling and things like that. That is how the Jivatma and Paramatma are two different entities. And then it gives another example of how the fire and the spark that comes out of the fire, it is separate. It is not the same as fire. That's completely separate. Another example is gives us a form and the reflection. If you bimbam and pratibimbam, bimbam means the form. Pratibimbam is a reflection. We go and stand in front of the mirror and we see our pratibimbam. Bimbam is the form, pratibimbam on the mirror. What he says, the bimbam and pratibimbam are two different things, completely different. They are not one and the same. The image is same, but they are not the same. I cannot take the I cannot take the mirror and give to someone and keep my thing, right? I cannot take my photo and tell someone this is me. It is one way it is me, but it's not me. It cannot be me in absolute terms. In absolute terms, it is just an image of mind, pratibhimbam of mind. Therefore, both the Jivatma and Paramatma are Jnanananda Swarupam. Jivatma is also Jnanananda Swarupam. Paramatma is also Jnanananda Swarupam. Therefore, you see the reflection over there as a mirror. It is like it's just a mirror, but they are not one and the same. They are totally different. They're totally different. This is how Madhvacharya says about the Jivatma. Then he goes to the point of saying that Jivatma are covered by avidya. Because of the avidya is why the Jivatma are going through sufferings in this world. They are going through the sufferings in the world. How did they get this avidya? Because of the karma. Who gave that? Who accumulated the karma? The Jivatma accumulated the karma. Who put the avidya back again to the Jivatma? Paramatma remembered all those things and gave back the karma along with the avidya to the degree of their karma. According to the karma, what they perform, that much with the proportionate will be the avidya, ignorance. Right? If you have done very good karma, avidya will be less. If you have done very bad karmas, avidya will be more. More we'll start thinking about that I am this body, I am independent. Avidya increases. More we'll thinking about I'm a servant of God. That means we have done less avidya because a lot of good karmas. That's how the Lord handles these things. Now, the Jivatmas are of three categories. Now he gets into the difference of Jivatma, how Jivatma classified into three categories. Muktyokyah, Nitya Samsari, Tamoyokyah. These are the three categories. But again, please remember in Advaita philosophy, there is no multiple Jivatma. There is only one Jivatma. In Vishishta Advaita philosophy, Jivatma are two categories. Jivatma are two. One is Jivatma, another one is Paramatma. And Jivatma again of different categories, three categories in Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta. One is Nityatma, one is Muktatma, another one is Baddhatma. Baddhatma are the conditioned souls that we are here. And Muktatma, at one point of time, they were conditioned souls, but they have got liberated and gone back to Sri Vaikuntha. And Nityatmas are the Atmas which never affected by the karma. They are always in the Sri Vaikuntha. This is Vishishta Advaita philosophy. Remember this very clearly. Now, when it comes to the Dvaita philosophy, what the Dvaita philosophy says is that there are two categories of Atma, living entity. Nitya Adukkaha. Next one is Nitya Dukkha. Okay, two principal categories. Nitya Adukkaha. Next one is Nitya Dukkha. What is Nitya Adukkaha? This living entity is always free of dukkam. Adukka. Dukkha means suffering. Adukka means no suffering. There are categories of living entities which never went through any dukkam. Okay, they are free of dukkam. Whereas another category of living entities called Nitya Dukkha, they are always in suffering mode. Always in the suffering mode. Where Sri Mahalakshmi we saw, we know which category she falls into. She falls into Nitya Adukkaha. She does not fall into Nitya Dukkha. She is not into any problem of distress or problems or karma. She doesn't go through karma, any of these things. She is Nitya Adukkaha. We mentioned this earlier also, but she is higher than the living entities, but little lower than the Paramatma. Now, within this Nitya Dukkha, there are three categories. First, Nitya Adukka, and next one is Nitya Dukkha. Within Nitya Dukkha, there are three categories. That is what you see on the right hand side. The first one is who are qualified to attain moksha. Who are qualified to attain moksha, Mukti Yukker. Okay, Yoker. This is Mukti Yoker. They are qualified to attain moksha. Next category of Jivatma, which falls under the Nitya Dukkha, is Nitya Samsari. Nitya Samsara means they are bound into the samsara, takes repeated cycle of go through the repeated life cycle of birth and death. And the third one, Tamoyokya. Tamoyokya means these living entities are meant to be punished. They are completely meant to be punished. This is a very important thing that we need to know, catch a point here, that out of this out of the two categories, Nitya Adukka, we don't even have to consider them because they are all free from any suffering. They are separated. They are always liberated. Always liberated. Whereas in Nitya Dukkha, there are three classes. In the three classes, the first one are the only ones which are qualified to attain mukti. They are the only living entities which are qualified to attain mukti. Because of their high degree of sattva guna. They have spiritual thoughts. They, even though they go through repeated birth, every life they take, they progress higher in degree. Higher, they cultivate, they develop more sattva guna, and they develop good qualities, good attributes, and develop bhakti. In this way, they perform a lot of tapasya, yaga, yagya, and perform devotional service. And when they do this one, they get Bhagavan Kripa. As they get the Bhagavan Kripa, they attain moksha. This is the first category. Only those people will can attain mukti. The second category, Nitya Samsari, or the second category, they are influenced by Rajoguna. They are passionate people. They are very passionate people. They go through repeated birth and death. Anytime they take birth, they only think of enjoying life in this world. And it's okay. This life I missed. Maybe next life I can win. I can become a rich man. I can become a Indra. I can become so and so. So even though they go through the suffering and dukkha and sukha, they don't realize they still want to enjoy in this world. And they never have self-realization. They never get self-realization, and they never grow from the Sajoguna to Sattva-guna. These are the Nitya Samsari. The third category, Tamo-yokya. Tamo-yokya is the one which always performs sinful activities. They are the candidates for Narakaloka. They are candidates for Narakaloka. Therefore, they will never ever go back to Vaikuntham. They never ever go back to Vaikuntham. This is where that we have to apply our learning so far, between the difference between the Advaita philosophy, Vishishta Advaita philosophy. As per the Advaita philosophy, when the Jivatma realizes that I am that Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman, at that very moment he is liberated. Jivan Mukti. At that very moment he is liberated. That is Advaita Siddhanta, what is moksha means. Whereas in Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta, even though the Jivatma takes several lives, several body, it may have had bad qualities, it may have performed sinful activities, still they are eligible to attain the Lord by the process of bhakti or by the process of sharanagati. These are the two means by which anyone for that matter can attain Sri Vaikuntham. This is Vishishta Advaita Siddhanta. Whereas in the Dvaita Siddhanta, as per their teachings, here's the important point also to know. In Dvaita Siddhanta, like some other Siddhanta, for example, Jainism, they say that there are Jivatmas which will never go back to moksha, will never attain moksha. They will be continuing to perform bad deeds and will be punished. This is Dvaita Siddhanta. Just like Jainism also follow the same thing. There are group of living entities. They will never go back to moksha. They will continue to take birth and get punished life after life after life. That is Jivatma. Now, few more slides, and we are going to see Prakriti, Akasha, and Kala. Another just 3 more slides, and we'll be finishing it soon. Now, according to Madhva Siddhanta, the Prakriti has a very special place. The Prakriti is a real substance. Unlike the Advaita philosophy, Prakriti is Maya, whereas Madhva philosophy, Prakriti is a real substance. And this real substance of Prakriti is different from Brahman and Jivatma. Though it is different, this Prakriti is completely under the control of Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. This Prakriti has 2 stages, Sushma Dasa, Sthula Dasa, that is unmanifested and manifested state. The both unmanifested and manifested state happens by the will of Brahman, Parabrahman, by the will, by the desire, by the sankalpa of Brahman. They change the status from Sushma to Sthula and Sthula to Sushma. In this way, the Prakriti is completely under the control of the Lord, and that is the Lord who creates the world. Now, the principle of Prakriti is Swatantra as per Sankhya philosophy. There's another philosophy called Sankhya philosophy that comes under Saddarshana. That can be a course by itself. Sankhya philosophy, Yoga philosophy, different things are there. That's as per the Sankhya philosophy. Prakriti is Swatantram, independent. It's completely independent. Whereas in Dvaita philosophy, Prakriti is not independent. It is dependent, completely dependent. Therefore, Shankara, not Shankara, Madhvacharya rejects Sankhya philosophy, saying that Prakriti is completely under the control of the Parabrahman. So he also accepts, but then he accepts Sankhya philosophy, he accepts something that Sankhya philosophy says this Prakriti turns into Mahat. Mahat turns into Ahankara, and then Panchabhuta, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, water, earth, Pancha Tanmatra, Shabda, Parisha, Rupa, Rasa, Gantha, and Pancha Indriya, like skin, ears, skin, eyes, tongue, nose, and the chief of all the senses, mind, Karmendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, all those things, Madhvacharya agrees to what is said in the Sankhya philosophy. But what it does not agree to Sankhya philosophy is that Sankhya says the Prakriti is independent, whereas Madhva says Prakriti is not independent, it's completely dependent on Parabrahman. Also, Madhvacharya varies in Ramanuja in one sense, says that until this point, even Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya agrees, whatever we said so far. But Ramanujacharya says this prapancham, this creation, this world is a sharira to that Parabrahman. And that is where Madhva says, no, it is not sharira, it cannot be sharira of Parabrahman, because the Prakriti goes through changes and it has a dosha, whereas Parabrahman does not have dosha. Therefore, Prakriti and Parabrahman does not have sambandham, does not have relationship. The only relationship is Parabrahman Sankalpa. Through the Sankalpa, he controls the Prakriti. He controls the Jivatma. That's how he says. Then the question comes, what about the statement Sarvam Kalo Idam Brahma? He says that because it's controlled by the Brahman, therefore we can say everything one and the same. That's how Madhvacharya says his explanation to this particular statement. Next, move on to Akasha. Akasha means the sky. The Akasha is again Avyakta Akasha, Vyakta Akasha. Unmanifested Akasha means sky. Unmanifested sky and manifested sky. Avyakta Akasha is that which before the Srishti, before the creation, which is in the Sushma state, in the subtle state, and then Vyakta Akasha is after the creation, it comes into the manifested state. That is the difference. Now, Kala, the time factor Kala is doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an end. It is a Jada matter. It doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an end. It is a Jada matter. These are the key substances, he says. Now, entering into the next topic of Mukti or Moksha. Now, let's understand what this is. We have learned what is Advaita Siddhanta, what is Dvaita Siddhanta, in that Dvaita Siddhanta, what is Parabrahman, what is Jivatma, what is Prakriti, what is Akasha, what is Kala. Now we'll understand. We'll try to understand what is Mukti and Moksha as per Dvaita Siddhanta. What is Moksha? Moksha is to get released from the samsara, which means getting released from the repeated birth and death. That is called Mukti. No different from any other school of thought. Every school of thought has the same idea that we have to be released from the repeated birth and death. Now, both Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, the relationship that Jivatma has with the samsara, they both agree it is real. Whereas Shankara says it's Maya. They both agree that though the samsara is real, they agree it is not permanent. Who? Madhvacharya agrees, and then Ramanujacharya agrees that though it is real, it is not permanent. It is anityam. It is temporary. Now, let's do a small case study between these three philosophies. of the Jivatma releasing from the samsara. The first one, where one jnana, when the jnana matures, one attains moksha. That is Aham Brahmasmi, as per the Advaita philosophy. Whereas Ramanuja philosophy says you do bhakti yoga or Sharanagati. Whereas Madhvacharya says there is only one way that you can attain moksha. There is not this way or that way. There is only one way that can attain moksha. That is through bhakti. That is especially when the Jivatma becomes released from the samsara, and that means it has to perform bhakti, which is the only mean, and that bondage has to be released, and it has to be completely detached, and then it has to be completely detached and attached to the Lord Narayana. That is the only way that one can attain mukti, no other way. Now, a person who is bitten by the snake, and the snake can be only removed by the mantra. A person comes and chants a mantra, and the poison, the venom comes out of it. Likewise, it is the Lord who put us into this world, right? We have become like a bitten snake. Now, it is the Lord who can remove that venom from us, avidya from us, ajnana from us. Therefore, it is the Lord who can remove from us. For the Lord to remove the venom of material existence from us, it is only through the bhakti process we can do that. When we do the bhakti, the Lord who is pleased gives us anugraham, removes our ajnana, and gives us moksha. Ways to attain moksha. Now, what are the ways that we have to attain moksha? That means the path to attain moksha. When the Jivatma leaves the body, when the Jivatma leaves the body, what happens is that he travels to different places of the planet and comes to the Brahmaloka. He attains the Brahmaloka and he stays there. The Jivatma stays there until the Mahapralaya happens. When the Mahapralaya happens, the Jivatma goes to Vaikuntha, Sri Vaikuntha. That's how the Jivatma attains the moksha. So the point here is Jivatma must become Virakti. Develop Virakti means detached from the worldly desire. Number two, it has to free from lust and desire. Number three, it has to develop the desire to study the scriptures, that's Shastra. Number four, desire to start hearing, not only studying. Like how we are all hearing, you're all hearing, they have to also start hearing the scripture. Number five, the desire but develop to respect and love and care everyone around us, the elders and everyone for that matter. Number six, must be free from the evil and bad thoughts and bad behaviors. Number seven, that Jivatma must seek a shelter at Acharya, a guru. See, this is a very important topic. You take any sampradaya, any school of thought, any siddhanta, any mat, this point will be there. That is, if you want to be freed from the sufferings and attain moksha, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Acharya, your guru, is a very important topic that's going to be repeated in all the sampradaya that we are going to see. Along with these things, the Jivatma must also do Tattva Vicharana. Tattva Vicharana means investigation. What is that absolute truth? What is this matter? What is the difference between Prakriti and Jivatma? What is the difference between Jivatma and Jivatma? What is the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma? What is the difference between Paramatma and Prakriti? What is the difference between the Jivatmas? This is called Tattva Vicharana. The Jivatma must do. And the ninth one is the foundation of all this thing is finally perform bhakti. One has to definitely perform bhakti so that one can attain the Lord by Lord's grace. Almost we are getting closer. What is the solution? We saw the steps now, what needs to be done, where to start. The first thing to start is start hearing. Atmavare drishtavyah shrotavyaha mantavyah nididhyasitavyaha. This is a sloka from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says first start hearing Krishna Katha, hearing good subject matter. All this that we are spending time here is this is what we need to do. As much as we can do, more we hear, it is much better. As we hear, we start contemplating. As we contemplate, that becomes our meditation. Then when the meditation becomes much stronger, it becomes unalloyed meditation without any distraction. Then we will be able to see the Lord. When we see the Lord, at that point, we will get the ananda that one get after going back to moksha. This is the biggest important another point that we need to know from Dvaita philosophy, that the Jivatma within the body, when they attain that particular stage in the bhakti, they experience the same ananda that they will have to experience when they go to Vaikuntha. When they have to go to Vaikuntha. So this is an important point to understand. So this is how the solution is. Now, to summarize everything that we saw, Dvaita philosophy talks about the distinct difference between Jivatma and Jivatma, Jivatma and Paramatma, Jivatma and Prakriti, and then Prakriti and Jivatma, Prakriti and the Paramatma, and then within the Prakriti, different differences. This is the all differences. And also we learned that within the Brahman is an absolute truth which has form, attribute, names, everything. It is describable. It has variegatedness, many forms. And we also learned that Jivatma falls into two categories. One is Adukkam and then Dukkam. Nitya Adukkam and Nitya Adukkam. That is one which is always going through sufferings and which never goes through any suffering. Within that, which always goes through suffering, we saw three categories again, which are qualified or eligible to attain moksha. Another one, the which was eligible to attain moksha are predominantly in Sattva-guna. The second one is predominant in Rajoguna. They take repeated birth in this world all the time. Then the third one is they are meant to be punished because they are in Tamoguna. They are meant to be punished. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to do something that we told already, that we have to take a shelter of a guru and develop and understand the scripture and develop bhakti. As the bhakti progresses, then we'll be able to see the Lord. The message of what we heard, when we contemplate of what we heard, that becomes our meditation. When the meditation becomes to the mature state, then within our heart, we'll be able to see that Hari, Narayana. When we see the Lord Hari, then we can experience the same ananda that we will be experienced after we leaving the body and going back to Vaikuntha. And over there, we will fully in enjoyment of enjoying the Lord over there. With that said, we took 17 minutes extra over here. I sincerely thank you all for staying here with us. Thank you very much. We will see you again in our next session. Madhvacharya ki Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.